Ever found yourself checking your mirrors for a police car after making a tiny driving mistake? We've all been there. But what if that minor slip-up, that thing you barely even noticed, spiraled into a decade-long legal saga, a high-speed chase, and a case that would echo through the highest courts? This is one of those stories. It's a wild ride that starts on a quiet California road with something as simple as a missing license plate. You won't believe where it ends up. Our story begins back in 2014 in sunny California. A veteran police officer with years of experience under his belt is out on patrol. It's a day like any other. The sun is shining, traffic is moving, and everything seems normal. But then he spots it, a pickup truck. At first glance, nothing seems out of the ordinary. But as he gets closer, he notices something is missing. The truck has a temporary registration tag in the back window, but it doesn't have a permanent, state-issued license plate. Now, for this officer, that's a potential red flag. In his experience, a missing plate can sometimes be linked to stolen vehicles or other issues. It's a small detail, but in police work, small details can mean everything. The officer decides to run the truck's vehicle identification number, the VIN. The dispatch comes back clean. The truck isn't reported stolen. It's registered to a man named Arthur Lopez. For a moment, it seems like a dead end. But the officer isn't satisfied. He decides to pull the truck over. His reasoning? He wants to confirm that the driver, Arthur Lopez, is aware of the missing plate and to make sure everything is legitimate. He flips on his lights, and the truck pulls over to the side of the road. A routine traffic stop, or so it seemed. The officer approaches the driver's side window. He asks Lopez for his license and registration. Standard procedure. Lopez complies. But as the officer is standing there, talking to him, he notices something else. Lopez seems unusually nervous. His hands are trembling slightly. He's avoiding eye contact, and his answers are short and clipped. The officer's training kicks in. This isn't just someone nervous about a ticket. This feels different. The officer's internal alarm bells are ringing louder now. He has a gut feeling that there's more to this situation than just a missing license plate. He asks Lopez to step out of the vehicle. Lopez hesitates for a second, a flicker of indecision in his eyes. And then, in a split second, everything changes. Instead of getting out, Lopez floors it. The truck's tires screech as it peels away, leaving the officer standing in a cloud of exhaust. The routine traffic stop is officially over. A high-speed pursuit has just begun. The officer races back to his patrol car, radios in that the suspect is fleeing, and takes off in hot pursuit. The chase is on. Weaving through traffic, Lopez is driving recklessly, dangerously. He's clearly desperate to get away. The officer is right behind him, trying to keep up while also ensuring public safety. The chase continues for several miles, a blur of flashing lights and screeching tires. Finally, Lopez makes a sharp turn, pulls into a driveway, and abandons the truck, taking off on foot. The officer isn't far behind. He calls for backup and begins to search the area where Lopez was last seen. The quiet neighborhood is now a crime scene, swarming with police. After a tense search, officers find Lopez hiding in a nearby backyard. He's cornered. He surrenders without any further resistance. The chase is over. Back at the truck, officers conduct a search, and what they find explains Lopez's desperation. Tucked away inside the vehicle is a significant amount of illegal substances and a loaded firearm. This was never about a missing license plate. For Lopez, getting pulled over was the start of a much bigger problem, one that could land him in prison for a very long time. So, Lopez is arrested and charged with a slew of felonies, including drug trafficking and illegal possession of a firearm. The case seems open and shut. He was caught red-handed after a dramatic police chase. What could possibly be his defense? Well, this is where the story takes a fascinating legal turn. Lopez's defense attorney didn't argue that the drugs and gun weren't his. Instead, he made a much more fundamental argument. He claimed that the entire traffic stop, the very first action the officer took, was illegal. The argument was simple but powerful. The officer pulled Lopez over for not having a permanent license plate, but the truck did have a temporary registration tag displayed in the window, which was perfectly legal under California law at the time. The defense argued that the officer had no valid reason, no reasonable suspicion of a crime, to initiate the stop in the first place. Therefore, everything that happened after the stop, the chase, the arrest, the discovery of the drugs and gun, was fruit of the poisonous tree. In legal terms, if the initial stop is unconstitutional, any evidence found as a result of that stop cannot be used in court. The trial court agreed with the defense. The judge ruled that the officer had made a mistake of law. Even though the officer acted in good faith, believing a law was being broken, his belief was incorrect. The temporary tag was legal. Therefore, the stop was not justified. The evidence was suppressed, and the case against Lopez collapsed. The charges were dismissed. You might think that's the end of the story. A man caught with drugs and a gun walks free on a legal technicality. But the state of California wasn't ready to let it go. The prosecution appealed the trial court's decision. They argued that the officer's mistake was reasonable. The law regarding temporary tags could be confusing, and the officer made an honest error. They believed that such a reasonable mistake of law should invalidate a stop and let a potentially dangerous criminal go free. The case moved up to the California Court of Appeal. The appellate court sided with the prosecution. They reversed the trial court's decision, stating that an officer's reasonable mistake of law could, in fact, provide the necessary reasonable suspicion for a traffic stop. The evidence was back in, and the charges against Lopez were reinstated. Now, it was the defense's turn to appeal. They took the case to the California Supreme Court, the highest court in the state. The question before them was a critical one for law enforcement and civil liberties alike. Can a police officer's misunderstanding of the law justify a traffic stop? The California Supreme Court reviewed the case, the arguments, and the precedents. And in a landmark decision, they sided with Lopez. They reversed the appellate court's ruling, agreeing with the original trial court. They stated that ignorance of the law is no excuse, and that applies to police officers just as much as it does to citizens. An officer's good faith mistake about what the law actually says cannot be the basis for a constitutional traffic stop. The court's reasoning was clear. If police were allowed to stop people based on incorrect interpretations of the law, it would open the door to arbitrary and potentially discriminatory enforcement. It would grant police far too much power and erode the protections guaranteed by the Fourth Amendment, which protects citizens from unreasonable searches and seizures. The final ruling was in. The stop was illegal. The evidence was inadmissible. Arthur Lopez, who had been facing years in prison, was a free man. This case, which all started with a missing license plate, had a huge impact. It sent a clear message to law enforcement agencies across California and the nation. Officers must have a firm and accurate understanding of the law before they can detain a citizen. It reinforced the principle that the ends do not justify the means. No matter how serious the evidence found later, if the initial police action was unconstitutional, the entire case built upon it must fall. It is a powerful reminder of the delicate balance between empowering police to do their jobs and protecting the fundamental rights of every individual. A balance that, in this instance, was tested by a simple traffic stop that turned into one of the most significant legal battles of the decade. Thanks for watching. If you found this case as fascinating as I did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the stories behind the headlines. See you next time.